over here, if money goes down, if the money supply goes down, then prices will go down, and they do, but also transactions go down. Prices will go down, but transactions will also go down. And again, if you look over here, prices went down, but that in turn caused transactions to go down. So basically, this makes this go down, and then that makes that go down. So now we have two different interpretations of the quantity theory of money. And this is important because there's two ways to deal with the business cycle. Does anyone need a picture of this? Because I'm going to erase this. This may be your last chance to get a picture of it in red. You take a picture with the blue pen, and then you show it to your friends and say, how did Professor make it red with a blue pen? Oh, there were miles. Or not. I'm sorry, I completely forgot what I was going to put up there after having. Oh wait, now I remember. Our production possibility frontier, way back at the beginning of the semester. Nope. Any point along here is a point along the production possibility frontier. But if we move from here to here, we have moved inwards on the production possibility frontier. A change in a nominal variable can move us into here. This is just kind of another way. I'm trying to link these different models to show how they talk about similar things, but we measure them in different ways. We model it in different ways. And note, at the micro level, all of our models are great. At the macro level, the different models are telling us different things, and distinguishing between them becomes difficult. All right, basic empirics of the business cycle. Here's output, and here's time. If the economy is growing at some steady rate, what you actually see is something that kind of looks like this. Where output will grow at slightly above the long run trend for a couple of years. Then suddenly output will drop. Output will drop typically for anywhere from 6 months to 1 year. And then growth returns. Growth will then return and you get out of the recession. So I'm now going to talk about some stylized facts. A stylized fact means something that all economists generally agree is true about what happens in the economy. Recession every 3 to 7 years.
STY LI
You generally get a recession every 3 to 7 years. And then
Dinosaur
it will last 2 to 4 quarters. The recession will last anywhere from 2 quarters, that's 6 months, up to a full year. Then you're out of the recession. Very rarely do you get a recession within 3 years of another one. In less than 3 years. It does very occasionally happen, but usually it means you had 1 quarter of growth and then you're back in a recession, which means you never really had a quarter of growth, it just looked like it. That's called a double dip recession. But they very rarely last more than 1 year. Basically, one exception to that, which we'll talk about in a bit. GDP, during a recession, GDP goes down. Real wages go up. No, if there's a recession and you have a job, you're actually doing okay.
Inflation
Because prices
Dinosaur
usually go down. They don't always go down, but they usually go down.
Dinosaur
So if prices are going down and you have a job, your real wages have gone up. And it's nice to be living in a depression. During the Great Depression, the amount of Americans who owned cars went from about 20% of the population to 80% of the population. During this thing called the Great Depression. Because if you had a job, well, you were getting paid pretty well. So GDP goes down, real wages tends to go up. Prices usually go down. Inventory is far more sensitive than consumption. In other words, Y equals C plus I plus G, and we're ignoring the rest of the world. Remember this equation from last class? Did I give this to you last class? I did. Y is income, or GDP. C, consumption, investment, government. Inventory, far more sensitive than consumption. What this means now is during a recession, inventory is a form of savings. If a company builds a lot of extra inventory, that means at a later point, they'll be able to sell it. Consumption doesn't change that much, but business spending changes a lot. Businesses are much more sensitive to the business cycle than consumers are. The consumers do respond. But how do consumers usually respond? Do they stop eating? No. If you go into a recession and you're worried about things and you're not too certain about your job status, or worse yet, you lose your job and have to find another one, you don't stop eating. On the other hand, you don't replace your old refrigerator either. That can wait. It's the big budget items, cars, televisions, refrigerators, stoves, renovating your house, fixing your driveway. That kind of vacation to Disneyland. That's the kind of thing you stop spending your money on. But not food. So different parts of the economy are affected differently by a recession. Some industries are very, very vulnerable to a recession. I had a friend is too strong a word, but a guy I knew back in the US, his job was actually foreclosing on businesses. And he said, yeah, I'm the only person in the world who prays for a recession. Because my job is counter-cyclical. Okay? When the economy's good, I don't have a lot of work. And then I get a year where I work really, really hard. And then 3 years of living on the savings for that. Okay, so that was an industry, foreclosing on houses. That's a counter-cyclical. That kind of industry we call counter-cyclical. Mama noodles, counter-cyclical. A lot of inferior goods are actually counter-cyclical. But almost all industry is pro-cyclical, and highly so. And consumers are also pro-cyclical, but less than business. So these are just a bunch of the stylized facts about what actually happens in a recession. And it's important for me to bring these up because I'm now going to go back in history to 1929. I need more board. There's one room at Econ. It's like all the walls are boards. And I did once, like, fill, just go all the way around, because I just wanted to see how that would work. And the students did not like it. And by the time I was done, I did not think it was too effective either. But also, I hated that room. If you're in a room that had no windows, it just had these whiteboards all around it, it had the worst acoustics ever. It just echoes from everywhere. Like, you dropped a pen, it sounded like, I mean, if a student dropped a pen in the middle of the room, it sounded like a gun went off. Because it bounced back from so many different directions. So, what will I erase? I'm erasing all of this. I'm leaving those graphs up. No pictures?